I stepped into the restaurant and instantly knew something was wrong. My parents' anniversary dinner was already finished. Plates cleared, wine glasses sweating on the table. The kind of quiet that comes after money has been spent. My mom looked up and smiled, that soft smile she uses when she's about to ask for something. "Oh, you're late," she said lightly. Then, like it was a joke we'd all rehearsed, she added, "You don't mind covering the bill, right?" My sister laughed, not surprised, not embarrassed. Would. And that's when I realized I wasn't there to celebrate. I was there to end something for good tonight. My name is Emily, I'm 30 years old, and for most of my life, my family has described me with one word: easy. Easy to deal with, easy to rely on, easy to ask for favors. They never meant it as a compliment. On paper, my family looks solid. Married parents who love hosting dinners. A younger sister who's always smiling in photos. Holiday cards that arrive right on time every year. If you met us at a table, you'd think we were close, warm, normal. But closeness isn't measured by how often you sit together. It's measured by who's allowed to take up space. Growing up, my sister Megan took up all of it. Her opinions mattered. Her mood set the tone. If she wanted something, the room bent around her. I learned early that being quiet made life smoother. Being low maintenance earned approval. When I didn't ask for things, my mom would pat my arm and say, "See, Emily understands." Understanding became my role. By my mid-20s, that role came with invoices. Not official ones, just subtle expectations. I covered small things at first. Groceries, utilities, a short trip that somehow ran over budget. Every time it was framed as temporary, every time it quietly became permanent. I never announced my career to my family. I didn't lie exactly. But I just didn't correct them when they assumed I worked somewhere modest. Something safe. Something that explained why I dressed simply and didn't talk about numbers. Letting them underestimate me kept the peace. It also kept the requests flowing. My parents liked celebrating milestones, anniversaries, birthdays, promotions that weren't really promotions. They liked places that felt impressive. Places where staff recognized them. Where menus didn't list prices. And somehow I was always called last after reservations were made. After decisions were final, I told myself it was coincidence. Timing. That familiar lie you repeat until it feels like truth. The night of their anniversary, I arrived straight from work, tired but willing. I brought a small gift, thoughtful, personal, something that said I showed up even if I was late. But as I stood there looking at empty plates and relaxed smiles, I felt that old tightening in my chest, the one that whispered, "You already know how this ends." I watched my mother's eyes flick briefly to the check folder, watched my father lean back satisfied, watched my sister scroll on her phone, completely unbothered. They weren't waiting for me to join them. They were waiting for me to perform. And for the first time, instead of shrinking into that familiar role, I wondered what would happen if I didn't play it anymore. I slid into the chair they'd left for me, the only one without a jacket draped over the back. The table still smelled like butter and wine, rich and finished. My mom reached for her water glass and sighed the way people do when a performance has wrapped successfully. "You should have been here earlier," she said, not accusing, just stating a fact. The service was amazing. My dad nodded already, loosening his collar. "You missed the best part." Megan didn't even look up from her phone. "We saved you dessert," she said, then laughed softly. "Well, sort of." A server approached with the leather check folder and placed it neatly in the center of the table. No one touched it. No one needed to. It just sat there waiting for me. My mom tilted her head again. "You don't mind taking care of this, right? We figured since you're working so much lately." She let the sentence trail off like generosity was implied, like this was a shared understanding between adults. Megan finally looked up, her eyes flicking from the check to my face. "Relax," she said. "You're always good at handling stuff like this." Then she smiled, amused, still clueless as ever. That word landed harder than I expected. I glanced around the table. My dad avoided my eyes. My mom's smile didn't move. Megan had already gone back to her screen, and suddenly something shifted. Not anger, not yet. Just clarity. I replayed the past year in my head. The last-minute dinner invites. The text that always came after reservations were made. The way I was never asked what worked for me, only informed. I thought about how tonight's invite had come with no time, just a place. "We're already here," my mom had said. "Join us when you can, when you can." I looked at the plates again, completely clean. No crumbs, no hesitation. They hadn't been waiting for me to eat. They'd been waiting for me to arrive. I realized then that this wasn't about celebration or family or even money. It was about certainty. They were certain I would show up, certain I would pay, but certain I wouldn't make it uncomfortable. That certainty had taken years to build, layer by layer, every time I stayed quiet to keep things smooth. The check folder felt heavier just sitting there. I reached for my glass, took a slow sip of water, and said nothing. I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I didn't defend myself. Because in that moment, I understood something I'd been avoiding for a long time. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a system. And systems don't break from conversations. They break when someone stops feeding them. I paid the bill that night. Not because I felt obligated, and not because I was afraid. I paid because I needed one last clean data point, one final confirmation that I wasn't imagining the pattern. On the drive home, the city lights blurred past windshield. My phone buzzed once, a text from my mom. "Thank you for handling that. We knew we could count on you." No heart emoji, no warmth, just relief, like a task had been completed. At home, the silence felt different, not heavy focused. I set my keys down, kicked off my shoes, and opened my laptop. The screen glowed against the dark room, steady and honest. I didn't open my work files. I opened the folder I never liked touching, the one I'd been adding to for years without naming it out loud. Payments, bills, transfers, support. Each entry was small on its own, reasonable, defensible. Together, they told a very different story. I scrolled slowly. Dinner after dinner. Travel expenses, emergency loans that were never repaid, utilities I'd been covering without being asked anymore. It wasn't generosity, it was infrastructure. I leaned back in my chair and let the numbers settle. The total wasn't what shocked me, but it was the timeline. How early it started, how quietly it grew, how naturally everyone adjusted their lives around it. Ryan came into the room holding 2 mugs of coffee. He didn't ask what I was doing. He never did. He just set one beside me and waited. "They didn't even pretend tonight," I said. "Would," he nodded. "They didn't have to." I told him what Megan had said. The laugh, the word clueless. Ryan's jaw tightened, but his voice stayed calm. "That's what people say when they think you'll never stop." I stared at the screen again, at the lines that had once felt like kindness and now read like obligation. "This ends," I said, not angrily, clearly. Ryan didn't argue, he didn't cheer. He just asked one question. "Do you want to talk to someone before you do?" I already knew who. My attorney, one who handled my financial boundaries, not my emotions. I closed the laptop finally, not because I was done, because the plan was forming. I wasn't going to confront them. I wasn't going to announce anything, and I wasn't going to make it dramatic. I was going to stop participating. And the moment I did, I knew the collapse wouldn't be loud. It would be immediate. I didn't announce anything to my family. I didn't send a long message. I didn't hint. I let routine do what it always did, carry them forward under the assumption that I would show up and clean up afterward. 2 weeks later, my mom texted me about dinner. Same restaurant, same tone, anniversary makeup. "We should all be together. No question mark, no time, just a place." I said yes. When I arrived that night, nothing had changed. The lighting was warm. The hostess smiled like she remembered us. My parents were already seated. Megan was mid-story, waving her hands dramatically while her boyfriend nodded like everything she said was fascinating. They didn't stop talking when I sat down. My mom reached for my arm briefly. "There you are," she said. We went ahead and ordered. "You know how long menus take." I smiled. Not tight, not fake. Calm. Dinner unfolded the same way it always did. Plates rotated in and out. Bottles appeared without anyone asking about price. My dad laughed louder after his second drink. Megan checked her phone between bites, occasionally angling it just right for photos. No one asked what I wanted. I noticed everything. The way my mom leaned back satisfied. The way my dad didn't even glance at the menu. The way Megan ordered something to share and slid the plate closer to herself. But it was choreography perfectly rehearsed. Halfway through the meal, my mom said casually, "Oh, did you ever hear back about that other thing?" I knew what she meant. Another expense. Another assumption. "Not yet," I said. She nodded unconcerned. "Well, we'll talk later." Later. That word used to make my stomach tighten. Tonight it didn't. When dessert plates arrived, I caught the server's eye and nodded slightly. She hesitated, then placed the check folder at the edge of the table. Same place, same silence. No one moved. My mom glanced at it, then at me. "Whenever you're ready," she said gently. I didn't reach for it. Instead, I stood up. "I'm going to grab the manager for a moment," I said. The table froze. Megan blinked. "Why, I have a question," I said, still calm. The manager came over quickly. Polite, professional. Would. I lowered my voice, just enough that the table couldn't hear everything, but enough that they knew something was happening. "Hi," I said. "I just wanted to confirm something about the account arrangements tied to this table." The manager nodded and checked his tablet. His expression shifted slightly, not alarmed, just attentive. "Yes," he said. "It looks like previous authorizations are no longer active." My mom sat up straighter. "What does that mean?" The manager glanced between us. "It means we'll need a payment method from the party tonight." Silence landed hard. My dad cleared his throat. "There's usually no issue." "I understand," the manager said kindly, "but tonight there's no account on file." My mom looked at me, really looked. Her smile faded. "Emily," I met her gaze. "I won't be covering dinner tonight." Megan laughed once, sharp and disbelieving. "Okay, very funny." "I'm serious," I said. My dad frowned. "What's going on?" I sat back down, folded my hands in my lap. "What's going on is that I've been paying for more than meals for a long time, and I'm done." My mom's voice dropped. "You're doing this here." "I'm not doing anything," I said. "I'm just not doing what you expected." Megan scoffed. "Would. So you're just going to embarrass us?" I looked at her. You weren't embarrassed when you laughed at me last time. Her mouth opened, then closed. My dad leaned forward. This is family. You don't just stop helping without talking about it. I've been talking, I said. You just didn't listen. The manager shifted uncomfortably. I turned to him. We'll need separate checks. My mom inhaled sharply. Separate, yes. I said mine and yours. The manager nodded and stepped away. My mom's face flushed. You can't do this. I can, I said. And I am. Megan pushed her chair back. This is unbelievable. Would. After everything we've done for you, I almost laughed. Not out of cruelty, out of clarity. What you've done, I said slowly, is teach me that love comes with an invoice and I don't accept that anymore. My dad shook his head. You think you're teaching us a lesson? No. I said I'm teaching myself one. The checks came back. One slim folder, one thick stack. My mom stared at it like it was written in another language. I don't have my card, she said automatically. I know, I said. Megan whispered something to her boyfriend. He stood up awkwardly. I need to take this call, he muttered already, walking away. My mom's hands trembled as she opened her purse. My dad reached for his wallet, then hesitated. For the first time, they looked unsure, not angry, not indignant, unprepared. The manager waited patiently. My mom looked up at me, eyes sharp now. You're enjoying this. I'm not, I said honestly. I'm finished. She searched my face for guilt, for softness, for the daughter who would fix it. She didn't find her. They paid slowly, uncomfortably, with questions they didn't like the answers to. I paid my share and stood up. As I walked away, my mom said my name. Not sharply, not sweetly, just uncertain. I didn't turn around. Outside, the air felt cooler, lighter. I knew this wasn't the end. I knew phones would ring, messages would come, accusations would fly, but the system had broken, and once that happens, nothing ever works the same again. The fallout didn't come all at once. It arrived in waves, short texts, missed calls, messages that started polite and ended sharp. I didn't respond to any of them, not out of spite, out of certainty. Without my quiet support, things shifted fast. Dinners got smaller. Plans were suddenly postponed. The confidence my parents wore so easily began to crack. Not dramatically, just enough to notice. Megan stopped posting photos from places that required reservations. Her boyfriend disappeared from family conversations entirely. No one apologized. I didn't expect them to. What surprised me was how little guilt I felt. I had imagined this moment for years, thinking it would hurt more, that I would mourn something. Instead, I felt steady, like I'd finally set down a weight I'd been carrying, without realizing how heavy it was. At home, life felt quieter in a good way. Ryan and I ate dinner without rushing. We talked about work, about plans that didn't involve anyone else's expectations. For the first time, my time felt like it belonged to me. I didn't cut my family off. I just stopped cushioning their lives. I stopped smoothing edges and paying over consequences. If they reached out, I answered honestly. If they asked for help, I said no without explaining. And something strange happened. The world didn't collapse. I didn't become cruel. I became clear. The restaurant incident faded into memory, but the lesson didn't. Boundaries aren't walls. They're doors you choose when to open. And once you close one that's been draining you for years, the silence on the other side isn't loneliness. It's peace. If you've ever been the one who always shows up, always pays, always fixes what no one else wants to face, I want you to hear this. You're not selfish for stopping. You're not cruel for choosing yourself. You're allowed to set boundaries even with family. If this story felt familiar, share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe so you don't miss the next Hearthly stories.